Hi everyone, today I'm going to be taking you through how to wear colored eyeshadow and one of the easier ways to wear it. I know there's a lot of tutorials on how to include a pop of color, but not a lot of tutorials focus on how to actually get you started on wearing fully vibrant, vivid, bright colors on your lids. Now I'm going to assume at this point that you've tried the pop of color underneath your lower lash line, you've tried like color on your lid with like more of a neutral crease. But this is for the people who want to get started wearing actual color and don't really know how to go about it. This tutorial will take you through creating a monochromatic look, which is sticking within one color family. Clearly I've chosen green. Sticking in the same color family is a very easy way to create a cohesive makeup look. Think about it. People use a lot of neutrals, right? Which are basically like browns, either warm or cool, but they graduate them into like more of a champagne color on the lid. Those are all still in the brown family. I'm just changing the color and making it green. And honestly, I feel like this is one of the easiest ways to get into wearing bright colors because you're sticking with one color family and the blending is not excessive. All right, let's dive right in. So when I'm working with bright colors, one of the first things I do after I've applied my eyeshadow primer is go in with a white base. For today's look, I'm going to be using the Essence Smoky 2-in-1 Kohl liner. I have also used NYX's Milk, which is infamous at this point, and both work equally well. You just need some sort of white layer on top of your lids. Now, the reason I do this is because I want the impact of the colors to really stand out. It does not matter what brand of eyeshadows I'm going to be using. They can be incredibly expensive, like the Vida ones, or they can be really cheap, like, I don't know, a Maybelline or Makeup Geek, although those are not cheap in quality, they're just cheap in price. So what I'll first do is lay down a rough, thick-ish layer. It's not like gloppy thick, but there is enough pigment to it. And I'll put that down on both sides on my lid. So it's underneath my crease on my lid. And then when it's down rough like that, I will just blend it out with my fingertips. And yes, this will make it not as bright white, but that's fine. I just need a very thin white layer and this will help bump up the impact of the shadows. And as you can see, that blended out really easily. There's a smooth gradient rising from my eyes. And it really doesn't matter if you don't get that smooth of a gradient, you're gonna be covering this up with shadow. You just need something that looks somewhat like this. All right, so for this tutorial, I'm gonna be using a palette that you really can't get your hands on anymore, but it's just easier because it's got all the shades I need in one instead of pulling out multiple palettes. And I'm talking about the Kat Von D Holiday palette. It's the Vida Loca one. It came out not this past Christmas, but the one before. And what we're gonna be working on today is a section here of green shadows. And I'm gonna show you how to make a gradient between these. All right, now that we've laid down the white base, the first thing I'm gonna do is add in a transition color. This never looks like much on anyone, but I promise you it is the basis for practically any eye look. It just helps create a seamless transition from whatever color we end up putting here to your brow bone. You can't go from a dark or a bright color to your brow bone without some sort of way to dissolve the color. My crease shade for this look is going to be Strutter, and I'm using that on a Real Techniques Deluxe crease brush. And I'm just going to run that through my crease. And because I have hooded eyes, and I have a tutorial on makeup for hooded eyes, which I will link down below, but because I have hooded eyes, I have to go in my crease and slightly above it. I just run that through with windshield wiper motions. Now, moving on to the lid shade. If we are working in a gradient for your eyes, you want to start with the lighter color towards the inside of your eye, working towards a deeper color. This is the smoothest and easiest way to get shadows that are brightly colored onto your lid. Because you're not having to worry about blending between two different color families, you can create a much easier gradient, which is easier on yourself when you do it from light to dark in the same color family. So I'm going to be taking a vinyl on a MAC 239 brush and patting that onto my lid. Because this is the brightest shade, this will make your eyes pop, and when we add the darker color out here, it'll deepen that crease area. I'm pretty heavy-handed with my shadow, so I will put quite a few layers on this to make sure that it's the exact same color in the pan as I see on my eye. And to really layer that shadow on, you need to use packing motions and push it onto your lid. Because we have that white base there that is helping bump up the color of the pigment, as well as because it's sticky, it'll help lock it in place. Now that my lid color is down, I'm going to go in with a slightly deeper green shade. This one is called Misfit. And I'm taking that on a Real Techniques base shadow brush and dumping that right in the outer corner and patting it through my crease. You can see right away that this is a darker tone than the lime green that we have on the lid. And I know a lot of people do sweeping motions. It doesn't really work that well for me, so I prefer to pat it into place. And as I'm doing this, you'll notice that I'm patting it right towards my brow bone. It looks pretty high, but because I have hooded lids, when I look forward, you can barely see any of it. So I pat that in this area here, and then up towards my brow, stopping halfway, and then pat it through the crease. To make this gradient a little bit more seamless, you just seriously pat right on top. And if you ever lose some of that brighter green pigment, you can go back in with your shader brush, pick up a little bit more pigment from your palette, and then just pat it straight on top. And this is what I mean about it making it very simple when you stay in the same color family. I'm not having to do a whole lot of blending between these two shades because they're both green. All right, so we've got both green shades on, but not most people would be comfortable going out like this. It's a little bit too bright, too in your face. So what I do at this point is take the darkest green shade that you have and put that right in this outer V area. That will help sink in your eyes on the outsides, which makes it look a little bit more natural. If we keep this bright color out here, it really brings your whole eye forward, which doesn't look that natural. So I'm sticking with the same Real Techniques base shadow brush, and I'm just dipping into Lemmy, and I'm just patting that directly in that area. This section sometimes does require, for me, a little bit more pushing and rubbing. All right, so now we've got the basis of our eyeshadow look down, and it's mostly about fine tuning it from here. For me, I'm looking at this and I don't feel like this shade is blending enough up here, so I'm going to go back into Strutter, which was our crease shade, and I'm just going to buff that on the very edges of that mid-tone green shadow. All right, so because we've been layering these colors, I obviously have fallout. I always clean that up with some Bioderma on a cotton round. This is also really good for cleaning out that outer area. If you've not created a shape that you want, you can just pull it and you get a sharper cut. All right, so we've got our eyeshadow all done. You can just leave it as is, add some mascara, and you're good to go. But I tend to add a winged liner onto this kind of look. And one of the reasons that I do this is because I like it, but the other reason is that it makes it a little less in your face for brightness. Because this is so much color happening and I'm going to be adding mascara, I need something to sort of break up all of this color on my eyes. So I feel like a wing liner, or maybe just even like a black pencil liner, helps to make a better transition between your eye and the colors that you put on it. I already have a video on how to do wing liner, so I will link that down below in case you're interested. Just to show you the difference between winged liner and no wing liner, I think you can judge for yourself what you prefer. But for me, I feel like this creates a sharper look for the eye as opposed to just having a lot of blocks of color. All right, I finished up the rest of my face. I've added mascara and that liner I was talking about, and I think this looks pretty standard for me. This is absolutely how I would wear brightly colored makeup on the daily. Of course, I used green today, but you can do this with any single color family: orange, red, blue, purple. Purple's usually an easier transition one for people because they're more used to seeing purple makeup. So if you want to start small, maybe try with purple. I hope this has helped you out. I hope you venture into brightly colored makeup because I know I love seeing it on other people. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.